The descent onto Virelia began with silence. It wasn't the dead calm of space, but a pressure, a void that grew louder the closer they came to the surface. Atmospheric drag increasing, Nara Wynn reported. Her voice echoed oddly, like it had already been said moments ago. Readings are… wait, backwards? Alia Trent gripped the rail of the command console. Outside the cockpit, the clouds flowed upward like smoke inhaling into the sky. The ship buckled. Theomar's fingers danced across the engineering panel, trying to stabilize the engines. This isn't descent, it's undescent. We're not falling into the planet, we're being pulled out of somewhere. Odyssey 9 hit the surface in a surreal ballet of reversed momentum. The crash felt like a rewind. Trees folded around the hull instead of shattering. Shards of stone rose and knitted back into mountains as they passed. The impact hadn't happened, and yet it had. They sat in stunned silence as the engines fell silent on their own. The vessel rested at the base of a purple-tinged canyon filled with geometrically impossible plants that twisted against the direction of sunlight. Alia was the first to break the silence. "Suit up, we're not staying inside." Their boots sank into soil that uncompressed under their weight, like stepping onto something that remembered their tread before they arrived. "My scanner's useless," said Theo, tapping a screen looping previous frames in reverse. "I get readings that haven't happened yet." The trees, if they could be called that, resembled skeletal umbrellas, their roots emerging upward from the canopy and threading deep into the sky like veins. Small particles, glowing like pollen, drifted toward the ground and disappeared into the earth. Lieutenant Daxon moved ahead, surveying the terrain, but Nara tugged Alia's arm. "Something's wrong with him. Watch his steps. They're unwalking." Daxon advanced with precision, until suddenly he stumbled. Then, as if pulled backward by an unseen thread, he was upright again, his face calm as if he hadn't fallen. But a line of blood had already begun to dry at his temple. Haran Voss bent to study one of the plants. It retracted its stem before his hand touched it. "It's as if everything here obeys pre-action," he whispered. "Intention matters more than execution." He turned to Alia. "We must be cautious. Even thoughts may echo here." Inside Odyssey 9, Alia reviewed the mission log. Footage showed them exiting the ship before it landed. Conversations replayed in reverse order. Worse, some conversations hadn't happened yet. "Either our ship's memory core is broken," she murmured, "or time is." Theo sat nearby, staring at a dismantled fusion core. "I took this apart 5 minutes ago, except I found it in pieces. I never touched it." Nara entered quietly, her face pale. "I dreamed about Voss. He touched something in the forest. Tomorrow. He didn't survive." Daxon burst in, panic clear in his eyes. "We need to go. Something is wrong. I saw myself standing in the trees. I didn't move, but I was there, watching." Voss remained outside, his eyes locked on a crystal embedded in a nearby boulder. He had been writing constantly in his journal, pages filled with backward symbols and fragmented equations. "The planet is sentient," he muttered to no one. "Not alive. Aware, it responds to consciousness." They found it on the third day, or perhaps the first. A monolith towering over the ridge, pitch black, absorbing light and logic. Carvings ran along its surface, shifting depending on who looked. "It's a memory archive," Voss breathed. "Not history, reverse history. It records futures it forgets." When Theo approached, the monolith lit up. A projection bloomed into the air, displaying a moment none had lived yet. The crew boarding Odyssey 9, leaving a cratered ruin behind them. "That's us leaving," Nara whispered. Voss turned to Alia. "This world isn't reversing our lives. It's unwriting us." Daxon began to change. He'd always been tough, disciplined, unshaken. But now he wandered alone, watching shadows that moved before he did. He started bleeding from wounds he didn't remember receiving. When he tried to recount what he saw, he only spoke in fragments. "The me, not me. He was ahead of me, watching, bleeding back into me." Theo tried to isolate the anomaly, creating a sound trap to catch temporal echoes. It only caught a scream, a sharp, gut-wrenching wail that played before the trap was even turned on. That night, Daxon vanished. They found him the next morning lying on the crystal floor of the forest. His eyes were open, breathing, but he never spoke again. Voss called it a loop collapse, a memory folding in on itself. His timeline tried to eat its own tail. They buried Daxon, but a day later they found him again. Alive. Alia stood over his sleeping form. It's not a resurrection, it's repetition. Harun Voss conducted an experiment. He connected himself to a neural tether and directed Nara to walk 10 meters from the ship and return, thinking of a childhood memory the entire way. I want to see if the planet absorbs cognition, he explained. When she returned, she was crying. I don't remember my brother's face anymore, she said. But I remember my funeral. Theo's voice cracked. Your funeral? I saw it a week from now. We hadn't left yet. Voss's tether blinked red. It had recorded no thought, only sound, a heartbeat that grew louder with each step. The planet isn't reading our minds, Voss whispered. It's replacing them. Back aboard Otis 9, the ship's systems began reversing themselves. Panels once torn apart reassembled with no human input. The engines hummed, but at intervals that made no sense, powering downward like a machine preparing to undo itself. Theo panicked. We can't fly like this. The ship's memory core is sinking to the planet's field. It's predicting past actions. Alia stood silent for a long moment. What if we don't escape the planet? What if we already did? And this is what came before. Voss shook his head. Time here isn't linear. It's a spiral, looping backward. But if we find the axis, the event that began the loop, we might escape by breaking it. They all turned to the monolith. Deep beneath the monolith was a chamber. Nara found the entrance by walking backward with her eyes closed, following a vision she hadn't yet had. The room was an upside-down dome, a cathedral of memory, inscribed with symbols that moved away when read. At the center, a pedestal. A sphere hovered above it, suspended in frozen implosion. Voss approached slowly. It's the core, the planet's brain. It's pulsing, Alia said. No, Nara corrected, her voice distant. It's unpulsing. Each flash is a moment erased. Voss placed his hand on the pedestal. A shock wave tore through the group. In an instant, they saw everything. Arrival, failure, madness, death, resurrection, loop after loop. And then, you must forget to escape, a voice echoed. Voss collapsed. Voss awoke first. I saw all our timelines. Some end in madness, others in peace, but none escape unless one of us stays. Stays? Why? Alia demanded. The loop needs an anchor, someone to break it from the inside, to unremember the memory engine. Nara stepped forward. I've already forgotten most of my life. Maybe that means I'm the one? No, Voss said. It has to be me. I understand the mechanics. I can stall the collapse. You'll only remember leaving, and nothing else. They argued, cried, hugged, and then they left him. Back aboard Otis 9, the countdown began. The ship rose, not upward, but backward, returning through its own descent, undoing the crash, ascending into the sky like a dream pulled from sleep. Alia looked at Nara. Do you remember his name? Nara stared blankly. Whose? The planet shrank below them. The stars around them pulsed, one by one, blinking back into order. Earthbase received Otis 9 2 weeks before it was due. The crew was intact, but the logs were corrupted. Mission data was blank. The AI marked the planetary report as void. The crew had no memory of the mission, no recollection of the crash or the planet. Only Alia, late at night, scribbled notes in her journal. A name, a symbol, a feeling of déjà vu. Deep beneath Virelia, Voss sat before the monolith, watching time unspool. He smiled. I've forgotten enough, he said. Let them remember something new.